A few years ago, I had a terrifying experience that still haunts me today. I was living in a busy city at the time, and I had just finished a late shift at work. It was around 10 p.m., and I was walking home through the quieter side streets of my neighborhood. I'm someone who's always been somewhat cautious, so I was alert, keeping an eye out for any unusual activity. As I walked down the street, I noticed a guy about 20 feet behind me. At first, I didn't think much of it. He seemed like just another person walking the same route, but something about his movements caught my attention. He wasn't walking in a normal manner. He was clearly trying to keep his distance, but his pace matched mine, no matter how fast or slow I went. After a few blocks, I decided to take a detour. I turned onto a side street that was a little less populated, hoping he wouldn't follow. I checked over my shoulder, and sure enough, he was still there. It's hard to describe, but I felt the hair on the back of my neck stand up. My instincts told me something wasn't right. I crossed the street, hoping that would throw him off, but he crossed too, without hesitation. I thought, okay, this is weird now. I had to make a decision. I wasn't that far from home, but something about this guy's persistence made me uncomfortable. I decided to stop at a nearby 24/7 convenience store to try to lose him. The store was empty except for the cashier, who barely looked up from their phone. I quickly grabbed a drink and stood by the door, hoping to see if the guy would pass by. He didn't. He stopped right outside the store. At this point, I could see his face clearly through the glass. He was staring directly at me. I panicked and ran back into the aisles, trying to calm down. I could hear his footsteps growing louder as he approached the door. I couldn't stay here any longer. I tried to pay, but I was so rattled I couldn't focus on anything. The cashier just stared at me, probably wondering why I looked so frantic. I threw the drink on the counter, paid quickly, and bolted out the door. I ran down another street, not wanting to look back, but knowing I had to. I didn't see him for a while, and my heart slowly started to calm down. But as I turned the corner to my street, I saw him again, standing at the far end of the block. It was like he had been waiting there the whole time. I wasn't sure what to do next. I considered calling the police, but he hadn't really done anything illegal, just followed me for a while. I didn't want to overreact, but I also couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't a coincidence. I wasn't sure what to do next. I considered calling the police, but he hadn't really done anything illegal, just followed me for a while. I didn't want to overreact. I also couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't a coincidence. He was still standing there watching me, and now he was closer. I took a deep breath, checked both ways, and made a beeline for my apartment building, not daring to look back until I was inside. When I got to my apartment, I locked the door and stayed there, staring out the window for what felt like hours. I didn't see him again after that night, but the whole experience left me unsettled for weeks. I never felt comfortable walking home alone late at night after that, even though I've lived in the city my entire life. I still wonder if I was just being paranoid, but there was something off about the way he followed me. It felt intentional, and it left me with a gut feeling I couldn't shake. This happened back in 2014. I was about 20 years old. I will give you some context before letting you know what happened. I was studying in a lovely seaside city in France, and everyone was cycling all the time. Cycling to school, to work, to parties. It was a very safe place, full of tourists and students. I lived and studied in the city between 2012 and 2015. Up until the events I'm going to mention, I never ever felt unsafe, and I didn't hear anything from my friends either. In December 2014, my boyfriend took me to his engineering school's Christmas party. We were a large group of friends and mingled a lot. One of the guys from the group, whom I didn't know personally, left the party without anyone noticing. A month later, he was found dead in the harbor, and the police never figured out what had happened. I went online to check if there was any news, and it's still a cold case. I didn't know him, but I think about it all the time. Was it because he was alone? Did he fall, or did someone push him? Why didn't anyone care to walk home with him? Needless to say, the city started to feel a whole lot less safe. But at 20 years old, I didn't have the same understanding of such things as I do now as a 30-year-old. My life carried on. A couple of months passed, and it was the beginning of 2015. Our friend was assaulted badly while cycling back home after a party. He was found in critical condition, his body lying halfway on the road and halfway on the sidewalk. His head had been smashed on the sidewalk step, and his jaw was completely shattered. He was a big guy in every sense possible, not the sort of guy you could push around easily. When he was recovering in the hospital, he couldn't make sense of what had happened. He had no idea why he was attacked on his bike. The police didn't find the suspects. 2 students, my age, in the same friend circles were brutally assaulted for no reason. I still cycled everywhere because I had no other choice. I lived 8 kilometers away from my school, and I didn't have any other means of transportation. This meant that I cycled approximately 16 to 20 kilometers every day, and I had been doing it since 2012. We are in the spring of 2015. I am cycling back home from a party with my boyfriend. I have had a few drinks, but I am not drunk. I am just tired. My boyfriend is annoying me because he's not waiting for me, and the distance between us keeps getting bigger. Suddenly, someone jumps on me. He appears from nowhere and kicks my bike to the floor. I have been cycling so much. I am so used to the bike. I let it fall between my legs, but I do not fall. I resist and stand up. It's a man. I reach for my bike, which is now on the floor, with my left hand. I am trying to get hold of the handlebars. He kicks me, then my hand. He kicks again and again, but I'm already holding the handlebars. It hurts, but I'm lifting the bike. He says something, and I don't hear it. I see my boyfriend looking at me. He's a bit far away, but he stopped cycling. He's gonna help me. The man will see I'm not alone. I'm still standing and lifting my bike. It's been maybe 2 or 3 seconds since the man jumped on me. My boyfriend is looking at me, and then he turns his back. My heart drops. He starts pedaling away. It's the dead of night and there's no one else. I'm on my own. The man keeps kicking. He wants me to let go. My hand looks blue, but my grip is strong. I think about the other 2 students. They give me strength. I think about my boyfriend. The sight of him cycling away fills me with pure rage. I'll use this rage. The man is holding some kind of glass in his hand. I grab it with my free hand and I smash it into his face. I'm doing it. I'm furious. I'm getting the bike up. Surely the glass had alcohol in it because it burned his eyes. I have a split second to launch myself and start pedaling away. He can't reach my hand anymore, so he kicks my bike one more time. I stand strong on the pedals. He tries to chase me, but I am faster. I pedal until I can no longer breathe. I pedaled until I felt numb. That night, I know I escaped something terrible. Due to the stress, I couldn't describe the man. I'll never know for sure if my experience was linked to the other attacks. However, we were all cycling on the same route. 10 years later, I can remember the look on my ex-boyfriend's face when he turned his back on me. When I was 14, I liked to go for walks alone. Just me, some music, and wherever I decided to go. One day, might have been early spring, I'm walking through a beautiful wooded area with the sun glimpsing through the branches and leaves. I saw a man, I'd say around mid-30s, walking and looking around in the opposite direction to me. He then turned to me and asked if I had seen his dog. Me being oblivious to what he said, I said no and tried to walk away, but he seemed really desperate and upset, practically begging for my help. So eventually I agreed, and I helped him look for close to an hour. Eventually, he disappeared down a heavily wooded area and called out that he found his dog and needed help to free him from some branches. Me being relieved to have found the dog, I was originally skeptical to go in after, but stupidly I did. It was only then when I found the man's true intentions. He had pulled his trousers and pants down and wanted me to do unspeakable things to him. I stood frozen as he only stepped closer towards me. In a panic, I ran while I was trying to take photos of him to show anyone for help. But as I ran, he chased close behind. We came to a bridge which was over a river. Don't ask me how I did it, but I managed to slip, dropping my phone into the river. I scrambled to my feet and continued to run, where I realized he wasn't chasing me anymore. He had seemingly disappeared. I've never told anyone about this story because I thought no one would believe me. But now I'm 17 and happily in a relationship. It's been on my mind for the last 4 years, and now I just have to tell someone.